12 men bore fruit for him as they served him. All 12 of those men bore some sort of fruit. All 12 of those men we could put into that 30-fold category. They all bore some sort of fruit for the Lord. But I want you to go to the book of Mark, if you would. Go to Mark chapter 5. And I want you to take note of something I'm sure that you're aware of. Mark chapter 5. Look at verse 37. And we're not going to read all these stories. I just want you to see something that's singled out over and over again in the verses we're going to read. Mark chapter 5, verse 37, and he suffered no man to follow him, save Peter and James and John, the brother of James. Go to chapter 9, Mark chapter 9, and look at verse 2. Mark chapter 9 and verse 2. After 6 days, Jesus taketh with him Peter and James and John, and leadeth them up unto a high mountain apart by themselves. Go to Mark chapter 14, a couple pages over, Mark chapter 14, and look at verse 33. Mark 14:33. And he taketh with him Peter and James and John, and began to be sore amazed and to be very heavy. So we have these 12. But within these 12, there are 3 men that are singled out. These 3 men are singled out and are given special attention by the Lord and are allowed to see things that the other 9 are not permitted to see. He uses them to bear fruit in ways that the other 9 did not bear fruit in the same way. We could put those 3 men in the 60-fold category. Then I want you to turn to the book of John, if you would. Go to John chapter 21. John 21. And look at verse 20. John chapter 21 and verse 20. The Bible says, then Peter, turning about, seeth the disciple whom Jesus loved following, which also leaned on his breast at supper and said, Lord, which is he that betrayeth thee? So there's one singled out here, that one that Jesus loved. If we went back to the account of the Lord's Supper, we would find that John was the one who was leaning on Jesus' breast at that supper. Several times we find that same label given to the Apostle John, the disciple that Jesus loved. So John is singled out as a special disciple among the 12 who is given the revelation of all things that will culminate this age when he sits on the Isle of Patmos. John is given a special place in the heart of the Lord and does the work that no other of these disciples did. Go to John chapter 18. Turn back just a couple of pages. John chapter 18. And look at verse 15. John 18, verse 15. It says, and Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did another disciple. That disciple was known unto the high priest, and went in with John into the palace of the high priest. So there's another disciple, John, who goes with Peter into that place. And John begins to see what nobody else saw. Look at John chapter 19, and look at verse 25. It says there, now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother, and his mother's sister Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple standing by whom he loved, he saith unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. Then saith he to the disciple, Behold thy mother. And from that hour that disciple took her unto his own home. Here at the foot of the cross is one disciple, the Apostle John. He is standing at the foot of that cross. The one disciple who has followed Jesus Christ right to the cross was John. The others heard about the atonement. John watched it happen. The others heard that the blood had been shed. John watched as it flowed from the sacrifice. John heard the last words that Jesus Christ would ever speak. John had a special place. He followed Jesus Christ right to the cross. There's no way that anybody who followed the Lord and had heard him speak and watched him die as he paid the price for that sin, there's no way that person could not be a fruitful servant for Jesus.